Yeah. You all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of the regular meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by providing a copy of the annual notice of the regular meetings for the year 2018 to the Glenridge paper, the Glenridge Voice, the Montclair Times, and to the Star Ledger on Wednesday, January 10th, 2018, and by filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Here.
Councilor Sowich is absent. Councilor Mans.
Here.
Councilor Lefkowitz.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
Mayor Patrick's present. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a resolution or motion rather, to approve the minutes of our November 12th, 2018 regular meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, I have a comment on the minutes. There's a couple of,
Yeah.
I brought to Tara's attention earlier.
Correct,
where
yeah.
I was absent, and
Yes.
yet my name still shows up in the minutes, so she's gonna change it.
Very good. Are there any other discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Should I abstain or?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, Councilor Mans.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
4 ayes, no nays, 1 abstention. Motion is carried.
Thank you. Are there any written communications?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. From the Board of Public Utilities, received notice that Comcast has made application for renewal of municipal consent to construct and operate a cable system throughout the borough of Glenridge. Received a letter from Michael Cohen regarding a resolution condemning all efforts to legitimize the State of Israel in the global movement to boycott, divest from, and sanction the people of Israel. Received a letter from Claremont Medical Center regarding their Wellness on Wheels program. Received a letter from Essex County Department of Health and Rehabilitation regarding Municipal Alliance program. That's repeat, and that concludes correspondence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Michael. I have no comments this evening, so this is the time for comments from the public. Would anybody like to be heard? If you'd like to be heard, please come up to the microphone and give your name and address, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Chris LaFave, 111 Clark Street, Glen Ridge. Recently, there's been some changes to the parking on Ridgewood Avenue. Now, as long as I've lived in town since 1970, there have been 2 parking spaces on Ridgewood Avenue in front of the Women's Club that people have used to go to the bank and the post office. Recently, along with the changes to the parking on Ridgewood Avenue, these 2 parking spots have been painted yellow, do not park. Now, I'm sure as everyone who lives in town knows that there is very little parking in front of the bank and post office, and taking away those 2 parking spots is really a considerable disservice to the community, making it harder to find a parking spot, oftentimes making people go around the block multiple times looking for parking spots, or making people who are elderly park farther away if there are no parking spots, and there's only 1 handicap parking spot. So I would really ask that if there is no overriding reason that those 2 parking spots were painted yellow, do not park, that they be restored to allow people to park there again.
Mr. Mayor, yes. The reason they were painted yellow, according to state statute, when you have a T intersection across that area, there's no parking within a certain radius of the intersection. So all those yellow lines were placed in accordance with the state statute. One suggestion, we're going to have a public safety meeting in December. Recommendation that I was looking at it for the committee is from Ridgewood Ave on Woodland, from Ridgewood Avenue to Darwin, is to create a 1-hour parking area there too. I agree with you that there's a dearth of parking spaces for the businesses in that section of Ridgewood Avenue. So we could pick up 4 or 5 places right on the other side of where those parking places were.
Okay, that'd be great.
So I'm going to bring that up to public safety. Probably we can't act on it this year because of an ordinance, we need 2 meetings. So at the top of January, hopefully the Public Safety Committee approves that, and we could have it on the agenda and approved by the end of January.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paula Perone. I live at 461 Belleville Avenue. My husband and I moved in a few months ago, and we realized that the cross streets between Belleville and High Street are fairly dangerous as far as there's a crosswalk right there. For myself and him, when we park in our driveway and we're backing out, people are just zooming up that hill on Belleville Avenue, and I don't know if there's any way to help that. If, you know, I think it would also help with the people crossing the street right there, whether it be a speed hump or even a light flashing for that there's pedestrian crossing right there. I don't know if that's something that others have noted, but since we just moved in there, backing out of my driveway, I'm afraid that someone's gonna be zooming up that hill, and then when my mom has crossed the street to come to my house, nobody stops. So just thinking about that street and that corner and how to make that a little bit safer.
You know, let Michael.
Okay,
handle
yeah,
it.
regarding the speed hump, that's a county road, the county would have to approve it and install
Oh,
it.
okay,
However, for the flashing lights, we can't take that up with the county, and that might be a possibility, so,
okay,
yeah, if I could just have your contact information, I could email you.
of course. So my email is P like Paula, B like boy,
Okay.
P like Paula, ERRONE@gmail.com.
Okay, let me make contact with the county and I'll get back to you.
That'd be great, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Well, seeing no further comments, we'll move on. We're going to now suspend the regular order of business for the Community Development Block Grant.
Mr. Mayor, this is the first of 2 public hearings on Community Development Block Grant Program. Program was created to give assistance either to low, moderate income communities or to provide for ADA improvements. The second hearing will be on December 17th, in which we'll take recommendations from the public and staff. And at that time, the council could decide what course of action to take in applying for grants from the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Any discussion on this at this point? Seeing none, we'll move on. Councilor Hughes.
Mayor, no report. I have one resolution, number 152-18. Be it resolved that the following claims be approved and warrants be drawn for the same. And be it resolved that the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer of the Borough of Glen Ridge is hereby authorized to issue the payroll for the employees of the borough for the pay dates of December 1, 2018. Mayor, I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution. May I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call roll?
Councilor Hughes,
Aye.
Mans, Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Murphy,
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
Mayor, I'd just point out that we paid the Board of Ed $2.4 million and the County of Essex $2.1 million in the last check run.
Did we get it?
Yes, sir, we got plenty back, right, I sure. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Vasovich is not here. Councilor Mans.
Mayor, I have one resolution on the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. It's resolution number 153-18. And it hereby resolved the Borough Council does authorize submission of a strategic plan for the Glen Ridge Municipal Alliance Grant for the fiscal year of 2019 for a total amount of $31,000, which includes in-kind and a cash match. I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution. May I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Hughes. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call roll?
Councilor Hughes,
Aye.
Mans, Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Murphy,
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Mans. Councilor Lefkowitz.
Mr. Mayor, at the risk of lengthening what looks to be a pretty brief meeting, I have a report from Public Works. On Thursday, November 15th, we had a really surprising snow day across the entire region. The DPW response was to immediately salt the roads. They did not brine the roadways because the weather forecasters had called for rain turning into snow. So this was a sort of head fake from nature that really roiled the entire state and other states. At any rate, crews then began plowing to keep the ambulance and jitney routes open while clearing the public areas with ground crews. Plowing and salting became difficult in the afternoon due to the high volume of traffic congestion. Small crews continued out plowing areas that were accessible. The roadways began to clear of traffic by 9 p.m. and the entire staff went out to plow and salt as well as to clear snow from public areas and crossing guard stations. The result was that the borough was ready for the delayed school opening on Friday, which eventually was canceled because of the difficulty of commuting into school from other areas. Aside from the storm cleanup, the staff were out cleaning up leaves from the borough properties and winterizing irrigation systems. On a happier note, the crews spent much of their time preparing for the Ashenfelter 8K. On Thanksgiving Day, the streets were swept, the potholes patched. The crew was on site at 6 a.m. Thanksgiving morning to set up the race.
Oh, they were there earlier. They actually were there earlier.
Even before 6?
Before 6, because I was still getting dressed and hearing the trucks go by my house on the way to various points.
That's
They're
a dedication that must be commended.
really remarkable.
They worked hand in hand with the police department in creating and executing a traffic control and road closure plan. And after the race was over, the staff opened up the roadway, picked up the debris, and packed up the start and finish line equipment. So, in line with Councilor Murphy's comment, I would just like to commend the work done by DPW on the Ashenfelter 8K. So that's the report, and I also have resolution number 154-16. Wait, should that be 18? 154-18.
It would be 18.
Oh, they're all 18. Oh, no.
Yeah, we're in 18, not 16. Resolution 154-18, which is the resolution to allow the library and the borough to share custodial services under the Uniform Shared Services and Consolidation Act under New Jersey state law. So I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution. Mayor, a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? No shared service. Good. Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes?
Aye.
Mans?
Aye.
Okay. Lefkowitz?
Aye.
Murphy?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays. The resolution is approved.
Can you, I think the actual resolution, that just needs to be changed.
It will be amended to 18.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we had a very successful Ashenfelter Classic and Tom Fleming Mile on Thanksgiving morning, thanks to the dedicated work of the Glenridge Department of Public Works as well as the Glenridge Police Department. We work hand in hand. Plus, we had a lot of volunteers from all over the community lending a hand. David took some photographs. David helped out at one of the water stops. We had Paul Lisovich handing out mugs at the finish line. We had Mr. Hughes, Councilor Hughes, with his son running in the race, making sure that all the participants were safe within his eye shot. Numbers were down, though, Mr. Mayor. Running, pun intended, into the race. Registrations are a little bit higher than last year. However, we had a bit of a fallout because of the prediction of ice-cold weather. That meant that we had 618 no-shows for the Ashenfelter, folks that paid but decided not to run, and for the Fleming Mile, 182. chose not to run on that chilling. However, having said all that, we did have 2,500 finishers in the 8K, which is a lot considering it was 20 degrees outside, and 387 for the Tom Fleming Mile. Fun was had by all, and it wasn't all that cold because the wind wasn't as, it was predicted to be bad, but it wasn't bad. And I think
It's colder going north and warmer coming south.
yeah, because the wind was at your back.
Yep.
Don't we love that?
I'd like to compliment you, Dan, on another really beautifully run, well-organized, it's an oiled machine.
Yeah, well,
It really is, it just, and the town really turned out for it, and it was a great day, honestly, it was a great day despite the cold.
yeah, I'd like to single out a couple of key volunteers. Gwen Schoenfeld, who handles inside and the refreshments, Fran Wong, who essentially oversees everything inside the building, the high school, the gymnasium, and Marcia Horton, who does the registrations. Of course, couldn't do it without the help of Michael Rohal at the finish line, who endures the cold and putting up with
You
me.
look pretty cold out there. And Mike doesn't feel the cold, and I think he feels
Yeah,
pretty cold.
But yeah, it was a good event, raised a lot of money for the Glenridge Educational Foundation, which we're proud of.
Well, congratulations on that.
That's all I've got for you tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morrow.
I do not have a report this evening, Mr. Mayor. Planning Board did not meet this past month, and I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. This is time for comments of the Administrator and Department heads.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We held a very successful turkey food drive. We collected 137 turkeys, which was one short of a record for us. We just missed out. Also, we had collected 868 pounds of canned goods, as well as $1,180. So it was a very successful day, and our thanks to
Wow.
all who donated. It went to a very good cause, the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. And then on Saturday coming up on December 1st at 4:30, we have our annual tree lighting. And the Friends of the Library are going to be serving hot chocolate and cookies after the lighting and caroling. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Great.
Mayor, all I have to report is that on December the 7th, Mr. Rohol and I will be going to the Superior Court to appear before Judge Gardner, and we will have our presently scheduled fairness hearing, which would mark the official end for the builder's remedy litigation, and also the litigation with Fair Share Housing Center that deals with affordable housing in Glen Ridge, and brings to an end our agreements for Baldwin Street. Hopefully that will all take place, and we will then be in a period of repose, meaning that no more litigation can be brought against the borough on this until at least 2025.
That's fantastic. What has it been, 5 years?
A little over 4.5 years.
Wow.
It was a long road.
Long and winding road.
Long and winding
For
road.
sure.
But for everyone else, a lot of other municipalities too, we are certainly not alone.
Yeah, I think it was not something we could do quickly. It would have been too disastrous.
Yeah.
Time was on our side, I think. and,
Yeah.
We got some very good parts of the agreement, I think.
Yeah, I think it worked out. I think we were very fortunate that we were able to consolidate portions of our case with the greater Essex County affordable housing action. That really allowed us to piggyback on a lot of the broader issues with municipalities that were much larger than we were, which really helped mitigate what was already a very expensive litigation. But it would have been a lot more had we had to go the full route entirely on our own.
I agree. Anybody else on that? Lieutenant?
I just want to echo Councilor Murphy's sentiments about the race. It was very successful from the police department's point of view. I look forward to it again next year. Thank you, sir.
It's going to come very quickly, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think I'll finally have recovered by then.
Is there any new and unfinished business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No one would call for comments from the public. It'd be resounding silence. Councilor Hughes, you have a motion for us.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We had a fellow come by the water station